third. Muncy comes in to score 7-4.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby, oh, baby. Dave Flemming on the call. You heard it yesterday on NBC Sports Bay Area. Rough weekend for the Giants coming out of the All-Star break. They had won 3 in a row, or 3 or 4 against the Brewers going to the break. They're feeling really good, winning 7 of their last 9 before the break. Then they go to Dodger Stadium, and the failure to execute 2-strike pitches, come up in clutch situations, at-bats. You name it, everything went wrong down at Dodger Stadium. The Giants get swept. They're 14.5 back in the NL West. Still in the hunt for the third wild card spot, but what a brutal weekend. Pitching, defense, batting, and, of course, those stars with the Dodgers, Mookie Betts, Trey Turner, and Freddie Freeman. They destroyed the Giants all weekend long. Let's bring in our main man, Dave Flemming, who of course, is the voice of the Giants and the voice of the ESPN. You hear him on college football, college basketball, golf, you name it. Flem, rough weekend, to say the least. And with the deadline coming up August 2nd, I know we're not going to discuss that much. Who knows what the Giants will do, but, boy, were they outclassed. They are outplayed. And defensively, it just gets worse and worse and worse for this club.
Yeah, all that is true. And I think the defense is the number one thing again for me. Because, look, I mean, in spite of the fact that, they get 1 hit from Belt, and it was a bunt hit all weekend, 1 hit from Jock Peterson all weekend. Brandon Crawford's not in there. They're beat up. Mike Yastrzemski got the 1 opposite field hit. I think that's all they got out of Yaz all weekend long. In spite of all that, they were in position to win 2, 3, I guess all of those games in theory, which is kind of, I mean, it is a testament to how strange this season has been. And yet in every single one of those games, there was a defensive mistake or multiple mistakes that helped the Dodgers get over the hump. And, the Giants just aren't good enough right now to overcome all that stuff. And it's happening way too often, and they can't get it solved, and they can't get it fixed. And in the end, it might torpedo this season. It's very, very frustrating. And they have to make it a priority to improve that long-term, whatever happens this year. That just has to be a priority. And I don't think anybody anticipated this. The Giants were a really good defensive team last year with mostly the same team. And so it's just kind of hard to explain, but of all the stuff this weekend, and there was a lot of stuff that could make you frustrated, I again think that was what stood out to me the most.
Yeah, there's no doubt the defense has just been absolutely frustrating. The other thing that I keep coming back to, you watch, and Betts and Turner and obviously the first baseman Freeman are so talented in a variety of ways, but their ability on the base pass is so underrated, and I think this is why I'm so in love with watching them play as much as I can't stand the Dodgers. How do the Giants identify athletes like that? Like, that's the element that I think that they're really missing over the last decade. They just haven't had that speed and that ability that when a guy gets on base, not only can they score from second or whatever, they can go first or third, they can steal a base. They apply so much pressure to that pitcher's mound. That's like the big thing I come away with. On top of those guys being superstars, their speed is just so rare.
I will say this, you would be really surprised, because we have our folks at Sports Info Solutions who help us out with a lot of info on the Giants, and they give us stuff every day. And the last update they gave us, which was just a few days ago during this series, the Giants were number 1 in all of baseball in taking bases on wild pitches, pass balls, first to third, second to home, errors. The Giants had grabbed more extra bases than even the Dodgers for the full season as of just a few days ago.
That's unbelievable.
It really is.
It is. But, look, I mean, because I feel the same way that you do. Like, the team needs to be more athletic. The Dodgers are really athletic. And Trey Turner, sprinting all over the place and sliding and making catches. And it's like, geez, we haven't seen that in a while. And yet, I do think that that's an instance where, and part of this is the Giants just don't have the exact opposite from the Dodgers have all these stars. The Giants have a mix and match roster right now. And you can get fooled a little bit, and I'm as guilty as you are or anybody is. Sometimes you do have to actually look at the results. The Giants have been way better at that than you would think this year, way better. So at least in the base running aspect, there's not as big of a difference as you would anticipate.
Dave Flemming, presented by the County of Santa Clara. Book a COVID-19 booster shot now at sccfreevax.org or call 211. Dave Flemming, of course, longtime voice of the Giants. Giants get swept down to Dodger Stadium. Dodgers really good. Giants scuffling right now. More injuries. Evan Longoria going to the IL with the right hamstring strain. Crawford's beat up right now. We'll see what happens with Tommy LaSella. Let me ask you about a reliever who was dynamic last year. Tyler Rogers. Trevor, of course, is his brother down in San Diego. And Tyler has a 4.87 ERA this season, 1.44 WHIP. How much do you attribute his struggles to the defense of the Giants?
I think some of it is attributed to that. I think, he's a guy who has to have full confidence because he's not going to strike people out. I mean, he'll get a strikeout every once in a while, but that's not his game. And I bet you if you put the lie detector on Tyler right now, he would never say it publicly, but I bet that he is less convicted throwing a pitch than he was last year, just because it's natural. When you haven't had plays made behind you, you're just a little, even if it's just a tiny bit of doubt, that makes a difference at the highest level. It does. So I think it has been a factor, but that's not all that's going on. I mean, he just is not as sharp as he has been. And I do think that the Giants have to take a long, hard look at his usage and think about whether or not they've worn him out by how much they've used him. And I know he wants to pitch every day. He says he feels good. He says he feels fine. And the submarine style definitely, takes stress off the elbow. But that doesn't mean it takes stress off every body part. And I just think, you push a guy as hard as they've pushed him, at some point you can expect there might be a degradation of results. And I would guess that has had at least something to do with it, and maybe something to do with some of those other guys' struggles as well. They've leaned so hard. Everybody does it. Yeah. I mean, this is not a problem unique to the Giants.
Yep.
Yeah.
But when you're pitching half the games for 3 years in a row, like some of these Giants guys have done, my guess is that's starting to take a toll.
Yeah. Getting back to the defensive equation and the everyday lineup, just for my money, I'd be playing Joey Bart. I mean, he's not going to play every day because the catching position is so strenuous, but he's batting .243 since being recalled from the minor leagues. And defensively, his arm is so valuable and he's so good back there. I feel like I got to just ride this thing out. Whether the bat gets cold again and the strikeouts start to accumulate, I want to see this guy play every single day moving forward. If he can, obviously. Where are you at with Joey Bart? Because it feels like the at-bats have been so much better the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think now, would I say that, no matter what the results at the plate, I think I wouldn't go that far, only because I do think you're trying to, Joey's like the one guy on this team right now, as it's currently built, that you're trying to balance the short-term and the long-term both, because he can be so valuable to this franchise if he can just, become who they think he can be offensively. Because you're right, they need him out there defensively. There's a big difference, and I think he's going to play. I mean, he caught 3 out of the 4 games this weekend. I think that's a pretty good model for how it's going to be going forward. So I think they agree with you. I still think, you got to protect his mental. The mental side of things with him if those struggles pop back up. But to your point also, there have been some really positive results so far with the changes that he's made. Not like he's Julio Rodriguez now, but
right.
Real positive progress. And it's a credit to, I really like this guy, and I give him a lot of credit for, in the pressure of a big market franchise with pressure to win, and following who he's following, we knew there was going to be a big drop-off, but he is grinding it out and doing everything he can to do that job. And I admire him for it, and I think they agree with your assessment. He's going to play a lot.
Yeah, let him play. The home run off of Josh Hader before the break, then loud double off of Corbin Burns, a Cy Young Award winner, 2 for 4 yesterday. Let the kid play. Average creeping up to 200 too, Flem. It's at 191 now. Let's see if you can get that over 200 on this.
It makes a difference.
It makes a huge difference. Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
Those guys look up at the big video board, and it makes a difference on your confidence level. It does. It sounds silly. Like, how could that be? These guys are getting paid big, but it makes a difference. You look up and see that number tick up, it makes you feel better.
No doubt. And he showed some speed yesterday on the base pass as well with that stolen base. I was very surprised at Joey Bart's speed there. Dave Flemming on the Morning Russell on 95.7 The Game. Let me ask you this. Lamont Wade Jr., obviously battling something. He's batting 173. He is struggling. He struck out in his only at-bat yesterday. And then Brendan Belt. How bad is Brendan Belt hurt? Because right now at the plate, he just looks lost. He looks like a guy who doesn't have his confidence. He's batting 231, coming off a year where he nearly hit 30 home runs. He's stuck at 8 right now. How badly hurt is Brendan Belt? And how long, if the Giants were rolling right now, say if they were 20 games over 500, how long would they shut him down? Because he doesn't look right, Flem.
Okay, well, I'll unpack that a couple things at a time. I mean, he's not right at the plate. He was late all weekend long. How many pop-ups did Belt hit? Just one after another. He was late. So his timing is not there. Now, I talked to Belt on Saturday, and I had a long talk with him, just face-to-face, and he said the All-Star break made him feel a lot better. He said his knee is back to feeling where he wants it to, and he's happy with his health. He says there's no excuse, and he is ready to go on a tear. So that obviously didn't happen Saturday or Sunday.
Right.
But, I mean, Belt has always been a streaky player, so I'm willing to give it a little time. It made me encouraged to hear that from him, because more than anybody, they need him. Like, they need his offense more than anybody else. They need Jock to be Jock again, too. They're really missing that right now. But Belt's the anchor on this team in a lot of ways offensively. And the offense, he showed signs that series before the All-Star break. I mean, it looked felt like this weekend there was none of that, and they need it desperately. And they need Lamont Wade too. And I don't know what's going on there. Maybe Lamont's not healthy either, but I think it is hard for a younger player when your season gets interrupted a couple times. You're looking for timing. Lamont's one of those guys. He's very meticulous. It's one of the things the Giants love about him is he's really detail oriented, a craftsman. He wants everything to be exactly right. And maybe just speculation, but maybe he's struggling with, the season hasn't had any rhythm for him, and so the routine that he loves just hasn't been there. Because he's not looked at all like we're used to seeing.
No.
Dave, after a weekend getting hammered by the Dodgers and seeing how packed their ballpark was and all the different players, it feels bleak this morning. You look up, there's still one game over 500. Like they're having a pretty solid season considering all the things that aren't going well right now. How would you approach this deadline if you're the San Francisco Giants? Is there something, because I feel like starting pitching is going to be really difficult to try to acquire. Everybody's trying to acquire bullpen. We know everybody wants the big Soto trade. That's probably unlikely, although I'd love to see them involved in that. How would you approach this deadline from the Giants' perspective?
Well, thankfully for everybody listening and for you guys, I'm not the one in charge. That's a good thing for everybody. If I were in charge, the obvious number one priority above all else would be Juan Soto. Not like we are going to trade for him,
right.
But if Juan Soto is going to be traded, we have to be a part of those negotiations. And the Giants, to me, have to, and I think they are looking at it that way. You cannot let somebody of that caliber, we're talking about an historically great young player. We're not talking about Chris Bryant. We're not talking about Trevor Story. We're talking about somebody at a whole different level than that. You have to be involved in that as a franchise. You just have to be. Everybody should be. If you're a GM and you're not calling and talking to them, that's malpractice. You have to be involved in if they're going to really trade that guy, which I still to me is like, seriously? His advanced metrics, are of a player who, relative to his era, is better than Hank Aaron. Like, you're talking about a guy who's got a chance to go down as one of the 5 or 10 greatest hitters in the history of the game. And if you acquire Juan Soto, I don't believe you can lose that trade. I don't. I mean, I guess it's possible, but I find it really hard to believe there's a scenario where the young talent that you give up in the end ends up better than Juan Soto. So that's the first thing. I just think this guy is in a whole different category. If it were almost anybody else who's like a big name player, a star player, or whatever, I would be lukewarm about the Giants. Giants have a lot of young talent that they really like, that they've spent the last few years sort of building up the timeline to get everybody, being very patient, and everybody's going to get up here all at once, and you're going to have a homegrown team, all that stuff. And that stuff is still in place. This guy is different. And so that's priority number one. Put one aside and say the rest of the deadline, I'd be focused on the Giants have to have another left-handed reliever. Yeah. They have to. So whether that's, I saw they made a minor trade yesterday, guy who we saw a couple of years ago with the Rockies. They picked him up from the Rays. Maybe they've got a guy or two down in the minor leagues who they think can do that job. Yesterday, Jake Lamb and Gavin Lux and Max Muncy came up in a row, and the Giants brought in Tyler Rogers because they don't have a lefty now. They've gone from a team that had more effective lefties in the bullpen than any team in baseball last year to a team now that doesn't have a single one in that spot that they could use.
Why isn't Alvarez trusted more?
Well, he's on the injured list, the 60-day IL, so he's not available. So
I didn't even know that happened. I didn't. Yeah, it goes to show you.
Yeah, he's been banged up. I don't know if it was totally a 60-day injury, but they needed a spot, and so they moved him to the 60-day because he's got, whatever the forearm tightness. He doesn't need Tommy John, but it's something along those lines. Garcia's just been totally inconsistent, and Arlene's been a good pitcher for him. Sam Long's been worked a lot and has not thrived in the sort of the late inning situational role. And so Alvarez is hurt. Jake McGee's DFA'd. Garcia's not been himself. Sam Long they're still trying to find the right spot for him. They desperately need a left-hander in the bullpen. Desperately. You can't have, in today's world of mix and match and,
right,
the way the Giants want to do it, it's just unfathomable to me that they could have a situation like yesterday with those three guys and their best option was Tyler Wright. It's not fair to Tyler.
No.
That shouldn't be his role. So that's, put aside Juan Soto, which you should do everything you possibly can to make that happen. And my fear is the Padres are going to be the team that makes that happen. I think the Padres are the team that has proven over the last few years that they're the ones that are super aggressive. They don't care about trading young players. Sometimes it burns them, but they're in an obsessive chase for, the premium talent. And Juan Soto is definitely that. And I would fear that if I were the Giants.
You imagine that?
Soto's going to join Tatis and Machado.
Oh, my gosh. Dude. It's already bad enough with Betts, Turner, and Freddie Freeman. Tatis, Soto, and Machado. Oh, on a lighter note, Flem. On a lighter note, let's move on because now I got a headache for you mentioning that. Despite your me, Mercedes playing left field and platooning all these guys. On a lighter note, it was pretty cool to see Klay Thompson celebrating his brother's double there at Dodger Stadium yesterday. That was a cool moment.
Very cool. And look, I mean, everything about Klay, he's celebrating his brother. He loves his younger brother. It's so cool that he was there to watch him play. He's yelling, "Let's go, Captain," when Belt came up to the plate in a big spot.
Yep.
He's signing autographs for everybody who came up, taking pictures with Giants fans who wanted to say hi to him. The guy's just a treasure. I mean, I know Steph is Steph and Draymond is Draymond, but I just have such a soft spot for Clay. I just love the guy. He's a super. Every time I've been around him to interact with him, he's a super nice guy. He always treats me really well.
Yep.
I just love the guy.
No, he's a great dude. Great dude, very humble, and he should be happy for his brother. Should be happy that he's a 4-time champ. And hopefully we're happy tomorrow morning when the Giants take on the Diamondbacks down in the desert. Again, they're not going 17-2 against the Diamondbacks this season. They've already lost 3 to them, so they got to pick this up or they'll fall behind the Cardinals here, 2 back at that third wild card spot, and they're losing ground here. 48-47 on the season. Flem, I will not talk. Oh, by the way, how was Scotland? We almost buried the lead. How was Scotland? Shasky wants to know.
That's definitely not the lead. It was amazing. Incredible place. I love going there. I love the people there. We just had the best time. We had unbelievable weather. I watched the final few holes of the Open with everybody pulling so hard for Rory in a little golf club pub with just packed to the gills of people cheering for the golf there. It's just a magical place for me. I love it there. Had a great time.
Okay, rattle off where you played. I want to hear it. Rattle them all off. Just give it to me.
Okay. We played, I never played Cruden Bay.
Oh, yeah.
An acclaimed course.
Yeah.
Very dramatic, giant dunes. Wasn't my absolute favorite golf course, but extremely beautiful. We played Royal Aberdeen, which was way better than I expected. Absolutely loved that place. I will be going back there and hopefully many times. Loved it there. We played 5 rounds at Royal Dornoch, which is my club over there that I joined a few years ago just because I'm an idiot. And we played 5 times there. It's the best. It's my favorite place to go. And then we finished by playing a place called Castle Stewart, which is a newer place. This guy Gil Hance, who's doing
Gil Hance
in America.
He's doing Lake Merced, and he's doing Olympic Club redesign.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He built a course in Inverness in Scotland that's beautiful. I really enjoyed it. It's a little more Americanized as a club. They're trying to turn it into a kind of abandoned dunes type.
Yeah.
They're gonna build another and probably then another course, and they've got hotels and whatnot. But the golf course itself was really fun, and then I got on the plane to come home. So we played, I think, 8 rounds in 6 days, 5 of them at maybe my favorite place in the world, but found some new ones that I really enjoyed and just had a blast.
I'm jealous.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Well, Flem, I will not talk to you for the next couple of weeks. I'm going out to Europe. It's vacation time for me, man. The Warriors took their season up until June. I haven't had a break yet. I got to get away from Shasky. I have to get away from Shasky.
Give me the quick itinerary.
All right.
Where are you going?
Paris, Saint-Tropez, Lake Como, Amalfi Coast.
Gucci stores in every single one of those stops.
Who are you, Sean Connery?
I wish I had his bank account, Flip. I'm getting depressed just thinking about the cost of everything.
Oh, geez. Yeah, you're going for you're not going to any museums, or you're just going for you want to rent a little convertible Maserati.
Oh, no.
Around the cliff.
There's no driving out in Europe. I'm not confident in my driving skills out there in another country, but there'll be the Louvre. We'll see the Eiffel Tower. I'm going to check out PSG Stadium, and then we're just going to chill in some water and have some paradise. And I'll be looking, I'll be paying attention to what's going on with the Giants and Niners, of course, but nice little break, unplugging and getting away from Joe Shasky for a couple weeks.
It's my fault.
Hey, geez. Good for you. Enjoy. I did the driving on the left side in the UK. It was totally fine. You can do it. One of my wife's favorite memories is me in a rental car in Paris going around, one of those giant traffic circles, and her just white knuckling the whole thing, and I'm weaving in and out and honking at people like I'm driving it home, and I pulled it off, so you can do it if you need.
All right, man. I think a lot of trains are in my future for the next 2 weeks. I don't know. You're a better man than me, Flip. Take care, man.
Dave.
We'll be listening tonight. We'll have fun. I'll talk to you in 2 weeks. Shaz can talk to you next week. But hopefully these Giants can get together, man. We need some winning baseball around here. Flip, take care.
These games are just as important as the Dodgers games.
More.
Absolutely just as important. In fact, maybe even more important. So, yeah, tonight's the big one for this team.
No doubt about it. Dave Flemming joins us every week. Take care, Dave. We'll talk.
Have a great trip.
No problem. Thank you. And what's coming up in the game?